Hey Seedlings, welcome back to my channel. Alright, before we start the video, I'm gonna announce that I have quit two games that have already accompanied me for over a year. The first game is Ayakashi Romance Reborn and the second game is A3. The reason why I quit both games is similar. When I promised myself that I will continue playing them both, it was because the main story wasn't finished. As A3's main story, aka the sixth member of each troop has already gotten their story. That's why I finally have the will to let go of the game. However, for Ayakashi Romance Reborn, it has been over a year and there hasn't been any progress with the night book. However, I do know that the night book has not even been finished and the original Japanese version. Though I cannot wait in a sense, I cannot wait longer for it because my passion for the game is slowly receding. Even the limited edition Akashi collections and stuff cannot keep me in the game anymore. And so I decided to give it up. I'll probably pick it up again simply for the sake of the night book story. Alright, so continuing on, in this video I will talk about what makes a gacha game good. Many people came up to me and asked me why I chose to play gacha games, and most of my games are actually gacha type games. Well, it's a simple reason really. First, there's the reason of the thrill of being lucky. That is obviously why many people play gacha games, technically to satisfy their gambling desires, kind of. However, another reason why I like gacha games is mostly because of several different factors that I'm gonna talk in this video. The first factor is the story. I would not play a gacha game if the story doesn't interest me. And a good story doesn't necessarily mean that it's a story that will always hook you in because of the action and how many times I get to show off whatever gacha item that I got. No, some of the games I play don't even have any relevance between the actual story and the characters themselves, and the main story are often boring for games that doesn't focus on the main story. Like for example, another game that I started picking up again, Food Fantasy. The main story isn't that interesting, but the interesting part is when you look in your food soul collection and you find out how much lore is inside each of the food item, and it actually correlates to how the food is made in real life. For example, the one character that you will always get in Food Fantasy, Foie Gras. When you look at her story, you will find out that she is she's locked inside a place by a chef. It reminds you of how ducks or goose are being forcefully fattened up in order to harvest their fatty liver or something like that. A good story can also make one want to, for example, get the gacha items more. For example, in this one game, Obey Me, my favorite character, Beale, there's this one story, I think it was from Devilgram, in which they looked at what thing that they liked the most. Out of all the brothers, the everybody expected Beale to have like his number one priority is food. However, it came to a surprise when it was actually his family. And that is what actually makes me like him as a character and want to get him from the gacha. Another example is for visual novel and otome game type of gacha. For example, like A3 or Ayakashi Romance Reborn, since I stayed for the story. In Ayakashi Romance Reborn, each character's like lover's book will actually deepen your understanding of each character and why they do what they did in like the main story before that, and you can actually know more of them. Like, for example, they look this way, but they actually have something behind them. And the thing is, when you play these, like the character root books, you'll slowly see them change because of like influences of the relevant plot. And seeing them change to become a better person is definitely something interesting and something that everyone can learn from. This is why story is like one of the most important thing for me when I choose to play a gacha game. Alright, the second point on how to spot a good gacha game. Well, for the second point, I would say is mostly the characters. Although this is like similar to story, the characters themselves are a different thing altogether. The characters are actually, for example, the character design. There are several gacha games that should have good stories, but I ended up not picking them up because of their character designs. I just can't see myself liking their character designs all that much. Well, this might seem like I'm picking on appearances. However, I am a type of person that would not want to spend any like in money in a game. So, being very picky, especially about appearances, is important. Of course, there will be chances when a character that I don't really like in on game. For example, I used to not like Homare from A3, but after reading the story, I actually like changed my opinion about him. Well, that has happened sometimes, but when choosing like a game, it is important to choose a game with like characters that aesthetically appeal to you. Otherwise, you'll just lose the passion quickly and wonder why do you even download this game. Okay, continuing on after the characters, it's art style. So art style is something that is more like unique to the company instead of unique to the game. However, some games do have unique art styles compared to the company, so the art style is different from games released by the company. Well, art style do play like a big part in why I choose any of the gacha games that I play. I like a certain type of anime art, and by finding that like certain type, I would find good gacha games that I would definitely, even if I do not like some of the stories or stuff, just by looking at the art styles, I would feel like it's very good looking. However, art style is not as important as story, so unless the art style is really, really good, it's rare that I would choose a gacha game based only on the art style. Next, for number 4 is actual gameplay. If you play in a gacha game, then you will need to use the gacha item in order to play. The gameplay is, for example, the gameplay system. The perfect gacha gameplay system is something that's not too time consuming. It's also something that is not too complex. Well, time consuming and complex is the same. However, it's not good if it's too simple too. For example, my favorite upgrade system should be Mr. Love, because in Mr. Love there are 4 main components that you only need to remember. The first one is leveling up, the second one is star up, the third one is evolving, and the fourth one is awakening. And each of these things can be easily gotten, and if you're of a higher level, there's a low chance of running out of any of these items. And my least favorite upgrade system in a gacha game is actually food fantasy, because although you need to level up, you need to star up, you have to upgrade your skill, and you also have to add a fallen angel in order to help with your food your food soul. And even after that, there's also the artifact, and the artifact itself you'd have to get the artifact soul and the togies, and the togies itself has its own system, and even the fallen angel has its own system. So there's a lot to think about. However, the gameplay is pretty simple, so yeah, it's negated by that. Well, it's balanced out by that. And for this kind of leveling systems, sometimes it might take a long time to understand what's going on, what you have to do in order to make your gacha items more powerful. Yeah, so that is another thing that I look out for in a good gacha game. Lastly is interactive ability. For example, in Genshin, you can interact with your available character. For example, I got Zhongli. I can use him in my adventures, and I can make him interact with the world in a kind of way. For Obey Me, you can put him in your front screen and reward him with food or medicine or any other item. And yes, that's also a kind of interactive ability. For food fantasy, the interactive ability comes from your restaurant. By managing the restaurant, you're able to interact with more of your food souls, especially when you're collecting balcony items. Yes. And you can also feed your souls with their favorite food. It's more how do I say this? Completely different from what kind of food they actually are. Yeah. Interactive ability obviously plays a part on why I would choose a gacha game. And the last important thing about what kind of gacha games I will play, it's actually more of a relatability. A gacha game that has a good story, good characters, good art style, good gameplay, and even interactive ability. If the character us isn't relatable, it will not be something that I will even play. For example, in Mr. Love, you're a reporter, and the main male leads don't just fall in love with you easily. You work hard, and they, except for Gavin because he already fell in love with you in high school. Anyway, you work hard, and slowly they see. I mean, like, the main character doesn't even want a romantic relationship in the main story. And the boys will slowly see, like, what, by working hard, what kind of qualities the main character has that they admire. In Obey Me, you're a transfer student, and there are several options that you can choose from if you want to be sarcastic or if you want to be good. If you are good, you will hear them say, yeah, that's one thing that I admire about you. And it shows that as long as you continue to be good, it's quality that everyone admires, really. In Genshin Impact, the relatable part is when we arrive in a whole new world. We saved Paimon and we did all those stuff. The relatable part in the story is that the characters in the game don't just like you for being like this new person. You actually see them being wary of you, and you actually see your character be wary of new characters. And the interaction doesn't make it seem like our character is the most overpowered character ever in the game. Like, we're not the main idea of the game. We see in Mondstadt, even though we play a main role in like defeating the Valen, we can actually see that we're not the one that opens the barrier. We wouldn't be able to beat Storm Terror even if Fenty didn't break open the barrier. We did not know about an Abyss Mage. Kaya does. Diluc beat the Abyss Mage. And we did not have this like info chain whatever thing that Diluc has. He has it, not us. It shows that even though we're a traveler from another world, we're not the overpowered character. We still have to comply with the rules set in that world. And yeah, this is one of the things that makes a gacha game relatable, because the characters in the game is not again, as I said, this overpowered magical being that has a secret power and stuff. Even though in Obey Me we do have a secret power, the reason why we even find out about that is because Diavolo knows about it, not us. Well, that should be all about tips on how to find a good gacha game. So I'm gonna go another run through that. The first one is a good story. The second one is good character. The third one is good art style. The fourth one is actual gameplay. The fifth one is interactability with your gacha items, and the sixth one is relatability. So that is all for the video today. Give this video a like and comment for the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe for more content from me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!